How to prepare for an interview. You've been shortlisted for a job and you have a couple of days to prepare for it. What can you do to be well prepared? Here are a series of steps that we recommend. By doing this, you will be well prepared to land your dream job. Our interview preparation process comprises 4 steps. ISAF: initialization, structure building, accessorizing, and final touches. Initialization. This is the first step, and as the name suggests, it's about getting started. This step requires you to do a skill gap assessment by comparing the skills that you have with those of the skills that are required by the role and that are described in the job description. The lower the gap, the better. At this stage, we'll get you to answer the following questions to arrive at the likelihood index. The likelihood index gives the probability of how likely are you to get the job. Rate on a scale of 1 to 5. Question 1. Do you understand the job description well? Question 2. What percentage of the activities of the job description do you have experience in? What would be your comfort level with the new activities in the job description? How familiar are you with the industry of the company you are interviewing with? What percentage of your skills match with the skills required in the job description? Do you know what level are you getting hired for? Do you know for what location you're getting hired? Do you know the working hours that you will maintain? How keen are you on getting this job? Add all your scores, divided by 45 and multiply by 100. You'll get a rating of 5 if your score is greater than 75%. 4, between 70 to 75%. 3, somewhat likely, 60 to 69.9%. 2, not likely, 50 to 59.9%. And 1, not at all likely if you score less than 50%. Task 1. Your first task is to look at all the questions where you have scored less than 3. You want to ensure that you do your research and get as many answers as possible and get a score of greater than 70 or to 75%. So please go back, do your homework, do your research, and make sure you have a solid understanding of the role that you are being interviewed for. Task 2. Prepare your interview file. Your interview file will comprise your resume and a cover letter. Make sure your resume copy is the same that you've handed over to your employer. Preferably, take 2 copies and please do staple them. Look up the location you need to go to for the interview. In case the interview is online, please make sure you are familiar with the conferencing tool that your employer will be using. If it's WebEx, Skype, Teams or Zoom, each one of them have slightly different interfaces, and you do not want to land up in an awkward moment where you're not comfortable with using it. Now, if it's an in-person interview, I strongly recommend you please make sure you know exactly where the location is. You might want to rely on Google Maps, but last minute, because of some changes in the environment there, it's very much possible that Google Map does not land you at the same place. Invariably, 15 to 20% candidates always arrive late for interviews. You do not want that to happen to yourself. Make sure, on the other hand, that you're 10 minutes early. So prepare as much as you can to know where the interview is going to happen and that you make sure you land there ahead of time, not just on time. Task 4. Decide what you're going to wear for the interview. Now, the ground rule there is that you get to know the culture of the organization you're getting interviewed for. Now, if they dress up casually, you have to dress up 1 up, which means you will be dressed up in smart casuals. If they dress up formally, you'll dress up very formally. So take that seriously, know what's their dress culture, and make sure you do not leave looking for the outfit to the last minute. Identify what you're going to wear a day in advance and make sure it's nicely ironed, dry cleaned, and it's ready in your wardrobe to be picked up and worn on the day of the interview. So that was initialization. Now we are moving to the next phase, which is called structure building. In structure building, we are going to focus on the questions that you're going to be asked in the interview. To begin with, we will do the following exercise. Imagine yourself to be the interviewer. Now, describe through the interviewer's thoughts that what would the ideal candidate for this role look like in terms of skills, values, and accomplishments. Task 5, key skills. Look at the job description and select the top 5 skills that are highlighted there which match with your skill set. Now look at your work experience or your student life and pick up one incident each which highlights that skill. Now write a 3 to 5 line story around each of that skills. Remember, most people end up giving very generic narratives or storylines when they talk about their skills. We don't want to do that. What the interviewers are looking for is a lot of detail and specifics to really understand how well you know your domain. So what we're going to do is we will follow the STAR model to write your narratives around each skill. S stands for situation. Here you describe the situation. T stands for tasks. Here you talk about the tasks for which you were responsible. A stands for action. Here you will give the actions you took because of which you got R, the result. Here is a STAR example of analytical skills. We were consistently getting poor feedback from our customers. That's the situation. I decided to look at the customer complaints data 1 year to unearth underlying issues and insights. That's the task. I learned to use statistical software Minitab to analyze large data set. That is action. I was able to uncover amazing insights and shared with my leadership top 5 reasons our customers were unhappy. We initiated 5 strategic projects to remedy each of those areas, and in the coming month, our scores improved by more than 40%. Now this is the result. So as you can see, if you follow the STAR model, you have given your interviewer a lot of detail about what you actually did, and that creates a very powerful impact. On the other hand, if someone would just go and say, I have analytical skills and I have done analytical projects, it really doesn't mean anything. So please make sure whenever you're highlighting your skills, you have a narrative which is powerful, which talks about the tasks, it talks about the situation, it talks about the action you took, and also demonstrates the result. Now in task 5, we tackle the skills. In task 6, we are going to come to values. So here what you need to do is you need to go to the company website and get to understand what are the key values of the organization. Now you're going to pick some which match to your value set, and make sure during the course of the interview you bring that out of how you have demonstrated those values on the job, in action, on the ground. And again, the model you will use to tell your narrative is STAR. Here is a STAR example of the value customer orientation. We had no formal customer feedback system. That's the situation. I came up with a new way to seek feedback from our customers monthly. That's the task. First, I drafted the form. I piloted it first with my customers and then convinced my manager and others to use it. Now that's the action you took. This helped our team to be more aligned to customer needs. Our feedback scores went up 30%. That's the result. So now that you have decided which key skills you're going to highlight to your interviewer, which are the values you're going to highlight, and you've created narratives around that, in task 7, we have a list of more than 200 possible questions for you. What you need to do is go through these questions, and relevant to your context, you have to decide which questions you think have a high probability of being asked for your job. And once you pick those top 5 to 8 to 10 questions, we recommend you follow the STAR model here again and answer those questions. We have divided the list of questions in the following categories: result orientation, attention to detail, communication, attitude, critical and analytical ability, creativity, people management, customer orientation, continuous learning and growth, time management and organization skills, project management skills, initiative, decision-making skills, technical knowledge and personal strength development needs, collaboration interview questions, collaboration builder interview questions. The list of the questions under each of these categories is available in a link in our video description. Here is one example of a sample answer. Question: tell me what a typical day is like for you. Answer: a typical day starts with reviewing my list of tasks for the day, This list is made at the night before, at the end of the day, for what I need to do the next day. That's the situation and task combined together. I avoid looking at my email first thing in the morning, and I often refer to my list throughout the day and tick off tasks that I have accomplished. I start with the most difficult tasks of the day. That's the action. This gives me a lot of energy throughout the day and a sense of accomplishment. The day I do not do this, I get a lot less done. Now this is the result. Task 9. Now we come to the point where we identify our red flags. What are red flags? Red flags are those questions which you know are going to make you very uncomfortable. So it's really advisable that you identify some of those red flags up front and do prepare on how you're going to answer them. Typical red flags are: explain the gaps in your education, explain the gaps in your work experience, being fired or laid off from a job, frequent job hopping, appearing to not stay long in a company. If you have any red flags, make sure you write down the answer in a positive way and do practice it a couple of times so that when you answer, you appear at ease and comfortable. Here is one example of answering a gap in your work experience. Question: explain the gap in work experience. The company I was working for experienced huge financial losses because of the pandemic, and it laid off 400 employees. One of them was me. Now that's the situation and task. I was determined to stay positive in the situation and look at the brighter side. I had long been wanting to get Google certification for digital marketing. I enrolled myself for classes, and I'm happy to report that I secured my certificate with 98.8% score within 2 weeks only. Now that's the action and the result. Task 10. This task is about keywords. I'm sure all of you have heard how globally bots are parsing resumes and matching them to JDs and also conducting interviews. Now, what is the technology that goes behind? What's happening is they listen to what you're saying, and then they have a library of keywords depending on the role and the industry and the function you're talking about. So for example, for a finance function, the keywords would be P&L, budget, variance, cost accounting, zero accounting. Now, when you are talking in an interview, whether on Zoom or online or offline, remember the interviewer is going to watch for the keywords you use which are relevant to your domain. So the more the keywords you will use, you will come across as a very domain-centric and highly knowledgeable person who really knows their tasks and job and work. So make sure that you go through the list of keywords that exist for your role and your function, and you do include those in your answers when you're talking about your work experience. Let's compare these two answers. The question is, describe your role as an account executive. So the first one says, I manage a sales team of 20 people and I'm responsible for the northern region territory of our business. I believe in developing my team and growing their skills. We work regularly on enhancing skill sets. That helps my team to deliver the best results. My team is well skilled at the sales process, which has been a differentiator for us. Now let's look at the second answer. I conducted product training and presentation skills every Saturday with my sales team. By doing a competitive analysis, we generated $1 million in sales through cold calling. I have negotiated with some incredibly challenging customers and generated 40% savings for the business. My team and I also created 2 new channels and set up 2 new territories. Closing and following up are key success factors for our team. The second answer demonstrates a much higher degree of industry skill and experience because of the sheer number of keywords used. Now we come to the third phase of our process, which is called accessorizing. By now, you've taken care of all the logistics of the interview process as well as focused on the question and the answer session. Now this phase, what we focus on is rapport building. Task 11, part 1. Here your job is to go and do an extensive research on your company, which means go to the website, look at social media, look at their Facebook account, their Twitter accounts, their Instagram accounts. When you will do this, you will get to understand and see a lot of interesting information about the company. Now, some of this you might be able to use in the interview, which will really reflect well. It means you're really interested in the company and you have taken the time to really get to know it. And that is how you start building a rapport. Task 11, part 2. Now this step is about getting to know your interviewer better. Now thanks to LinkedIn, today you can go and read up on the profile of anybody across the world. So if you know the person who's going to interview you, we strongly recommend you go and look up their LinkedIn profile. You never know what you might find in common. It could be, you might be an alumnus of the same institute. That's great luck if that happens. Or you might have many mutual connections. Or if nothing in common, at least you will know something about the person in terms of education, work experience, what are the kind of links they follow, as well as if you could look up their Instagram and Facebook accounts if they are public. It's just nice to get to know the person a little better. However, just in case the interviewer does not have any social media presence at all, do keep in mind that when you meet the person, if you can notice a photograph or a wall hanging or something in the room, it is a nice habit towards the end of the interview or in the beginning of the interview to try and connect to a visual and say something nice about the person's office or anything else that comes to your mind. So all this falls under the category of rapport building. Remember, between two people who are equally skilled for the same role, the person who will get the job will be the one who the interviewer likes more. So there is a likability factor which is not determined by your qualifications or skills. It is just your presence and how you connect and the rapport you build with the interviewer. Task 12, the most important task of this whole process, and that is practice, practice, practice. Luckily, there's a tool, uSpeakNow.com. You can upload your mock video answers on uSpeak, and within a matter of minutes, you will get a detailed score of your answers. Once you get the score, look at the areas of development that will be stated in the report and do record it again to make sure that you're improving on your score. Now, the more you practice with uSpeak, the higher your chances that on the day of the interview, you will really perform well and back that dream job. In the context of the interview, what visualization means is that as you think through your head and walk through that interview door, you can visualize a very successful meeting. So start like this. Think of getting up in the morning, wearing the dress that you've already selected for yourself, arriving for the interview ahead of time, sitting there and being called inside the room, walking very confidently and having a very nice rapport with your interviewer right from the very beginning. So this is all that you're visualizing in your head. Now the theory is that the more you visualize, you create your own reality. So if you're going to visualize positive things, that you're going to be very confident, you're going to speak well, you're going to do all the right things, that's what will happen. At least the likelihood of that happening will be much higher. So visualize as much as you can. That will really help you feel very positive and very confident. The second step to calm your nerves is what we call self-talk. Now, as you know, we all talk to ourselves, but unfortunately, mostly the self-talk that happens inside our mind is what we call negative chatter or negative talk. Now, that doesn't help. Therefore, what we recommend, you stand in front of the mirror in your bathroom or in your room and say good things to yourself. Say good things about, I am good, I deserve this job, I will get it, I know what to do, I'm well prepared. So ensure you replace the negative chatter that keeps going on, which is one of the root causes of causing anxiety, and replace it with a positive chatter, which is you talking loudly to yourself, looking at yourself in the eye in the mirror. And as you do that over a couple of days, you'll actually start believing it, and you will see how the negative chatter really reduces and you are thinking a lot more positive. So to summarize, we went through these 15 steps. Now, if you follow these 15 steps, we can guarantee that your chances of getting your dream job will increase by at least 30%. Make sure you use uSpeak to get feedback. That is really precious. And also, when you're interviewing, apart from your spoken word, there are two other elements, which is body language and vocal tone. Body language and vocal tone is also especially important in creating the right impression as you communicate with your interviewer. uSpeak will give you feedback on both of these. Plus, we have videos for each of the elements that uSpeak gives a report on. So please go to our YouTube channel and make sure you go through those videos as well. Happy interviewing and all the best. If you found this video useful, please click on the like button. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel.